for blessings, ask for strength, good health, what have you. In the Hawaiian belief, when um, when a family member died, they were right beyond the veil, but they really didn't leave. They're just in another realm. So Hawaiian burial practices were is actually coming back now. We were, as a people, outlawed from our own burial practices. Because even in death, our families never left us. We took care of them, and we weren't allowed to do that anymore. So for the families now to leave their loved ones and they were taken to a mortuary, when that started happening, that was really hard because we took care of our own. So now we're being allowed that again. So now they have water cremations where, because for us, the bones, your mana, your life essence, your force, the life force is in your bones, not in your flesh. So we take care of the bones. So now you can do water cremations, you can gather the bones, you can take them home, you can make kapa to wrap them, and you can make baskets to wrap, to place the bones in, and then the bones are taken back to your family land and either buried or put into caves. And that's how they did it. And now, we can do it again. Birthing practices. The ieve, the placenta, we always brought that home because that was buried on the family property and a tree was planted on it to honor that baby. And that was outlawed. And now we can do that again. And Manny, in fact, his great grandson, when his granddaughter brought their baby home, her placenta came home and they did a ceremony in the yard and planted a tree and buried both the ieve and the people, the belly button when it fell off. So we've been separated from our own practices for a long time, and even we thought that they were not good practices, and we've had to come home to that. But no, they were okay, and there were reasons why they did it. Good stuff. Good stuff. They were all good. This is an example of an igloo. So this is the underground oven. So all of the stones are taken out, and you'll have that pit, that hole. So a fire is started. All the stones are put in. In fact, the stones are put in before the fire is lit. Wood is underneath. What you want to do is you want to heat up the stones so they're red hot orange. They will all fall. Then we put the food in. And then on top of that, though, first we have to put banana stumps and tea leaves. And then the food is put in. And it's covered again. And it's covered. Now we can use tarp. We can use heavy canvas. And the whole thing is covered. And it cooks overnight. And I'm telling you, when that meat or fruits or vegetables come out of there, it is great. Yeah. It is so good, so good. And the men will watch it overnight, or else they'll leave, come back early in the morning. We've already used it for all staff to come in. We've had Thanksgiving turkeys in there. You can't present it as a bird, but it's great. The food is good. I call it the great equalizer. Whatever goes in there is going to come out tasting good. Not looking the greatest now, but this is the halimua. Casey worked on this one. If you look inside and you can see the grid, you can even pull on, not this one, but on the side, you can pull on it. Casey was one of two people that did all the tying on this holly, all by hand, and there's over 1,000 ties. So the men had their own house for meetings and eating, and it was thought, well, they were the decision makers or the head of the household, so they had their own house. Men and women did not eat together, and mainly it was because of the different foods that were associated with male gods that women could not touch, could not eat, could not harvest. Therefore, men did all the cooking. Yay! They also cooked for the women, and they cooked on a different fire. Women had their own fire, and men had their own fire. But it never broke up the family unit because everyone had a responsibility, you know, for the whole, and it was for the good of the whole. So laziness was frowned upon. Frowned upon. Because if you were lazy, your family's not going to eat. And your family depended on, you know, the adults. You also had the grandparent generation. So multi-generation is very important. So the grandparents watched the children when the parents were out in the fields. So the grandparents were the first teachers of the children. So their wisdom that was passed down was very, very important. See, that stopped after a while too. It was just the parents, and you didn't have the wisdom of the elders. And that separated the family again. So that's something else we had to find in ourselves again and in our families. So yep, this is the hale mua. So if you were building the kauhale, traditionally this house was built first. This house was always built first.
And the kauhale is for those who... So kauhale would be the multiple.
Yeah, it means a cluster of structures. So it's all of these all in one.
I have a question though.
Yes.
How did the Native Hawaiian view the concept of LGBT
Oh,
or the
okay.
non-heterosexual?
Thank you. Yeah. So, as part of the family, they were never separated from family. And in fact, if you were gay, if you were homosexual, you weren't seen as that. You were seen as, it's like twin spirits. So they were the ones who, it is said, who were the best weavers and some of the best kapa makers because they could tap into their both feminine and the male side. So they were never shunned from the family. No, never. Churches, yes. Yes, they were. They were. And it was really sad because we all had them in our family and it was not a big deal until, you know, we were taught that it's not.
Yeah.
And then they were left out.
Yeah.
But they were never left out. And in Polynesian society, they all had their place within the family unit. I think it was only New Zealand that didn't. But I think that they're changing their views now. But no, they were never looked down upon. You know, it was quite the opposite. They were able to have the strength and the finesse and the creativity. Now, my goodness, they're the designers, clothing designers, they are the musicians, they are the artists. It's not like that anymore. But within their own churches, they were shunned. Yeah, and they were, but no, never. So, you know, it's sad. It's sad because, you know, you have that, yeah, but they're a part of our family, so how come society isn't accepting them? Yeah, it's just one of those things we had to pray hard about.